iTunes, as the icon suggests, is really a music management software. Apple launched iTunes when they introduced the first iPod in 2001. The idea was that you manage all your music in iTunes and then sync it with your iPod to get all your songs to go with it. Since then, they've really gone from still being the music hub, that's still the hub of iTunes, to being able to rent or buy movies in iTunes, only available in certain countries, to subscribe to podcasts, to buy apps, and so on. And we'll look at some of these now. Now, unfortunately, buying songs, TV shows, movies is not available in Hong Kong. They apparently are stuck in some kind of licensing issues, so you can't buy music, movies, or TV shows in Hong Kong. Now, if you have a valid address in a country that does it, say Australia, UK, the US, and a credit card in that country, it's possible to do it. But it's against the user agreement for iTunes. You're not supposed to do it. When you click agree, you actually agree to, one line is, I will not attempt to try this, to use this service outside of, say, UK. So for school, we are unfortunately just limited to the Hong Kong iTunes, because we have to do it completely legally. Now, the Hong Kong iTunes store has apps, podcasts, and so on. We'll go through those. So let's get in there. So that's the icon for iTunes. And this is what iTunes looks like. Like I said, originally it was all about music. You take your CD, you put it into the computer, and it rips it into a different digital format, files that you can then sync with your device, like iPod.
What's the quality of your files?
You can choose what to rip it to. Let's take that one. When you convert it, you have the option in the preferences to say whatever you want to import it as. There are a few options. So you can do MP3, and it's the most compatible but the least high quality one. AAC is what Apple uses, and it is fairly high quality. You can also rip at lossless, which means it's full quality from the CD. Now, it is not, if you compress it with AAC or MP3, it is not as good as a CD. But if you're listening to it on your iPod with headphones, it's quite hard to tell the difference. If you're listening to it at home on nice speakers, you will tell the difference between an original CD and the file version of it. You can tell the difference. But the idea of iTunes and especially the first iPod was that you can take 1,000 songs with you. So it's a decision whether you want to take full quality one CD into your Sony Walkman CD player, or 1,000 songs with you that you can listen to. So music is still the hub of iTunes, with movies, TV shows, and so on. But what we're really interested in is the iTunes store. And it's over here. Why don't you click on that if you're on iTunes on your computer. This is what the iTunes store looks like. Make sure you go to the bottom and you click on that flag, and you change your country to the Hong Kong store. And then you see what's available in Hong Kong. What I'm doing today is I'll show you everything that's free. There's a lot of stuff that you have to pay for, but there's so much that's free and you don't have to worry about it. And this is the view that you first have when you get to the iTunes store. And it has 4 sections for Hong Kong here. The first one is App Store. App Store is for buying applications for an iPad, iPhone, or iPod. Okay? All kinds of things that you can get for free for note-taking, recording, whatever. But I'm not going to spend too much time with that, because that's, if you have one of those devices, explore it yourself. Have a look, browse around. I, for the longest time, at least a year, did not buy anything. I did not pay for any apps. I got just free apps. And then Angry Birds got me, and I ended up spending $1 for an app. And that's how it started. So that's the App Store. The next thing that it is already quite interesting is books. If you click on the Books tab in here, Apple have fairly recently launched the iTunes bookstore, and you can buy books in there. I've now started reading on my iPad, and it's actually quite nice. It took me a while to get over the idea of reading on it, but it's actually pretty good. And there are a lot of classics that are free. So if I want to read Moby Dick, for example, I can just click on that, and it's a free book. So I can just tap on free book. It starts downloading that book for me into my iTunes library in here. Once it's done, it shows up in books, and there I have Frankenstein. Now, one point about getting books from iTunes Store. They're great if you have a device that you can read on, like an iPod, iPhone, or iPad. They're terrible to read on the computer. They're really designed to be read on a device, a mobile device. There's some software out there that can open these on your computer, but I tried all this week to find something that I could show you that I would recommend, but I can't recommend any of them. They're simply not very good. So the idea of books really is download it into iTunes, sync up with your device, and then read on the device. And they're surprisingly good to read on a small screen as well, because you can adjust the font size, you can make it quite big. I mean, you have a lot of pages then to flip through, but it's quite okay to read on. Okay, let's go back to the iTunes Store. Okay, podcasts. So what's a podcast? Podcast is a broadcast, audio or video, that's generally repeating over time, like a radio show, that you can subscribe to, that then automatically downloads into your iTunes. When you synchronize your iPod, automatically sends it to your iPod, and then you can listen to it on the go. So that's where the name podcast comes from. Again, podcasts are all pretty much free. And you can get to them through the iTunes Store, or you can find them on websites. You can find direct subscription links on websites. On iTunes, you can find your podcast that you need to find in a few different ways. They have links for top items at the moment in the Hong Kong store, some RTHK programming here. Or you can use the search. You can just type in your search keys into the store search up there. And then there's a power search. You click on the power search, you can choose that, okay, let's search for podcasts, put in title, author, and you can even say, well, I wanted it to be about education, and I want it to be in English. Okay. And it will then search for all podcasts under education in English. Okay. We'll go back to podcasts. Podcasts are pretty easy to access. If we look at the RTHK one, for example, I just click into it, and here are the different, these are actually TV shows, I think. Yeah. You can either just click on here, and it will start playing it automatically to you in a moment. There we go. And it's playing the podcast. So you can view them straight on iTunes without any device. You can watch all of these right here. That was by clicking next to the number. If you hover your mouse over the number, it gives you that play button, and then you can just watch it right then and there. But if you want to download it for yourself, here on the right-hand side, you can say where it says free, it has the price. You just click on the free, and it immediately starts downloading it. And it's now downloading that podcast, and once it's done, it will show here under podcasts on the left. Okay. I have some Mandarin lessons there, and it says here I'm downloading this one. Okay. Once I've downloaded it, the other thing that's quite cool is if I like that one, I have a button to subscribe to it. So if I hit that subscribe button, iTunes will now manage it for me. Every time they release a new episode, iTunes will automatically start downloading it for you. So something like language lessons, pretty good. It automatically gives you the next lesson.
You just typed in 1 minute, you just typed in minutes.
Yeah.
Found it.
Yeah.
10 minutes worth of Mandarin there.
Yeah. Yeah. And another one with a lot more than 10 minutes. Yeah.
In this course, we're going to be teaching you just enough Mandarin to get by on a holiday or on a business trip to
Yeah. And you can sync it with your device, so you can take those with you wherever you go, listen to them on the bus, MTR, whatever. Okay. So that's podcasts. There are all kinds of podcasts in iTunes. Can't go through everything. Some of them are, there's some quick links to audio, video, new ones, language learning. Language learning is really big in the iTunes store, so there's a lot of podcasts for language learning. Some keynotes by Apple on tools, for example.